The war was supposed to be over. For the Galactic Coalition, surrender wasn't spoken aloud. It didn't have to be. Their fleets were scattered wreckage. Their worlds burned. The Zalvian Dominion, an empire of biomechanical monsters bred only for war, had smashed through every defensive line the galaxy had raised. No species had survived them. Not intact. Except one. High above the dying world of Veltrian Prime, the once glorious Coalition flagship Seraphis hung battered in orbit. Fires gutted its starboard side. Power flickered across the bridge like dying starlight. Admiral Kale Thar, a Seraphim warrior angel, wings of shimmering energy frayed and dim, stared at the holomap showing the galaxy's devastation. World after world glowed red. Zalvian occupied. The Coalition, once hundreds of species strong, now held barely a sliver of space. Commander Vereen of the Aquatic Aquarii clutched her gill plates. Admiral, communications from the last. Defense ring are gone. We've lost Trivan system. The Zalvians control the hyperlanes. We are surrounded. Kael'thar didn't flinch. His people were bred to face annihilation with dignity. But this wasn't dignity. This was slaughter. No, he replied. Silence hung, bitter and final. Then, he spoke the words no one thought would be uttered. There is one call left to make. Vereen's sapphire eyes widened. No, Admiral, not them. Kael'thar turned, his damaged wings crackling with dying light. The humans. Gasps echoed. Across the bridge, primitive, violent, unpredictable. That was the reputation of humanity in galactic circles. They were isolated on the fringe of known space, self-exiled in their Terran systems, developing weapons most species deemed barbaric. Plasma cannons, railguns, kinetic rods from orbit, crude, brutal, effective. But humanity had something the rest of the galaxy had forgotten. Defiance. They have never fought on this scale, Vereen protested. Their fleets are untested, their tactics unconventional. Kael'thar allowed himself the faintest smile. Precisely. Around him, the battered survivors of a dying alliance stood a little straighter. They do not fight as we do. They do not wage war to defend territory. They wage war to win. No negotiation, no retreat, no surrender. A silence fell. Not of despair, but of hope. Vereen swallowed. I will send the message. But, do you truly believe they will come? Kael'thar stared at the void beyond the view screen. He thought of ancient Terran history, their relentless wars, their impossible victories, their savage determination. To outlast extinction itself, they will come, he whispered. For if humanity has one gift above all others, it is arriving when the enemy believes the war is already won. Behind him, the battered crew activated the long-range quantum relay. The final message of the Galactic Coalition echoed across dead space, toward Earth, toward humanity, a simple signal, a call to war. To any Terran command authority receiving this, the Galactic Coalition is fallen. The Zalvian Dominion has declared the galaxy theirs. If you hear this, humanity, we need you. Bring everything. The message reached Earth in the dead of night, buried deep within Lunar Command, a vast subterranean military complex beneath the moon's surface. Red warning lights bathed the walls as the decoded transmission looped over and over. For hours, analysts, generals, and diplomats stared at the impossible. Aliens, not asking for trade, not demanding diplomacy. They were begging for warriors. Fleet Commander Elias Rourke stood at the center of Earth's War Council, a scarred veteran. Of the Outer Rim conflicts, his jaw set like stone, his uniform plain, unadorned. Humanity didn't care for medals anymore. Survival was the only victory that mattered. Behind him, a holographic display showed the ruin of the Galactic Coalition, endless systems marked in crimson. The Zalvian Dominion was unlike anything Earth had ever faced, but Rourke wasn't afraid. He was furious. What's the assessment? He asked. Across the table, Dr. Annika Patel, humanity's chief military strategist, tapped into her neural implant, pulling tactical data into view. The Zalvians employ swarm tactics. Mass-produced biomechanical war forms, self-replicating shipyards, planetary harvesters. They devour resources, convert entire ecosystems into war machines. Conventional warfare? Rourke asked. Suicide, Patel answered flatly. The coalition fought them like civilized species, defensive lines, negotiation attempts, laws of war. Her lips curled in disgust. They fought monsters like politicians. Murmurs of anger rumbled through the chamber. Earth's defense secretary, a grizzled old Marine named Sam Varga, growled low. And now they expect us to bail them out? Rourke's eyes burned cold. No, he said quietly. They expect us to die like they did. The room fell silent. Then Rourke spoke the words that would become legend. Prepare Operation Iron Resolve. Head snapped up. Patel blinked. Commander, you're proposing full mobilization? Yes. Varga grinned, the grin of a human who'd been waiting his entire life for a war worth fighting. About damn time. Within 72 hours, the entirety of Earth's military-industrial complex shifted into overdrive, massive orbital shipyards. Above Mars roared to life, titans of steel and fury taking shape in zero-G. The Terran Armada, codenamed Wrath Fleet, began assembly. Ships like nothing the galaxy had ever seen, colossal railgun platforms, carriers bristling with AI-guided torpedoes, planet-killer kinetic bombardment systems, orbital drop-shock legions armed with rail-accelerated armor-piercing rounds, weapons, built not for deterrence, but for obliteration. In the briefing room aboard the UHS Vanguard, humanity's new flagship, Rourke addressed his assembled commanders. We are not the Galactic Coalition, he said. We will not fight fair. He paced slowly. The Zalvian Dominion believes the war is over. They think we are isolated, weak. They see our distance from the galactic core as a disadvantage. He smiled, a sharp, brutal thing. That's because they've never fought us. Cheers erupted, hard, grim applause from soldiers who knew what was coming. Rules of engagement? Patel asked. Rourke's answer was ice cold. There are none. As the Wrath Fleet began its departure from Sol, Rourke sent one final message. Across the stars, a reply to the dying coalition, to Admiral Kale Thar of the Galactic Coalition. This is Fleet Commander Elias Rourke of the United Terran Armed Forces. We have received your distress signal. Stand by. Humanity is inbound. And we're bringing hell with us. Veltrion Prime, dead world. Occupied territory. Zalvian Dominion stronghold. Admiral Kale Thar stood on the shattered balcony of Veltrion's last defense citadel, staring into the black sky littered with debris, the remains of once mighty coalition fleets. For days they had waited. No reinforcements. No hope. Just the hum of Zalvian war engines devouring what remained of Veltrian cities, draining oceans for fuel, harvesting mountains for metal. Commander Vereen of the Aquarii approached him quietly. Admiral, she whispered, there has been no sign. Perhaps the humans. She was cut off. A sound echoed from the sky, low at first, rising into a roar that vibrated the very bones of the planet. Then came the lights, streaks of unnatural brilliance, ships descending from hyperspace like falling stars. Dozens at first, then hundreds, thousands, metal beasts of war shaped not by aesthetics or diplomacy, but by raw, brutal function. Humanity had arrived. Aboard the Terran flagship Vanguard, Fleet Commander Rourke stood before a fleet-wide channel. All units, you know the mission. His voice was steady steel. No prisoners, no negotiations. Show these monsters what it means to wage war against humanity. Across the stars, Earth's forces unleashed their fury. The Zalvian Dominion had never encountered such tactics. Coalition fleets fought in formations, graceful arcs of shielding and coordinated defense. Humanity fought like predators. The first wave of Terran battlecruisers dropped out of hyperspace inside the Zalvian fleet perimeter, impossible by any known standards. Their AI systems, calculating risks no sane species would attempt. Mass driver cannons ignited, hurling tungsten rods at relativistic speeds. Zalvian vessels, shielded against plasma and energy, crumpled like tin under the kinetic onslaught. Within minutes, the outer ring of Zalvian cruisers had been obliterated. Then came the orbital drops, Terran drop pods, called screaming. Coffins by the soldiers within slammed into Veltrian's surface. Shockwave troopers emerged clad in exo-armor, their weapons humming with electromagnetic fury. Kael'thar watched in awe as human infantry advanced, unyielding, unstoppable. Where the Zalvians sent wave after wave of mindless war forms, the humans responded with calculated brutality. Explosives, railguns, incendiary rounds that incinerated biomechanical tissue. It was not war. It was extermination. Inside a Zalvian command hive, Supreme War Leech Kazoric thrashed its tendrils in. "Frustration! The primitives are reckless!" it hissed. "They are winning," one of its subordinates corrected. Sensors showed the impossible. Zalvian war factories collapsing under precision orbital strikes. Terraformers hacked by human infiltration AIs. Even the planet's magnetic field was being weaponized, distorted to disable Zalvian biocircuits, Kazoric screeched. "This cannot be." Above, in low orbit, Rourke surveyed the battlefield. "Status?" he barked. Patel grinned. "Outer fleets destroyed. Ground resistance collapsing. Our losses are within acceptable parameters." Rourke nodded grimly. "Prepare final measure." Patel's smile faded. "You mean?" "Yes." In the ruins of Veltrian's last Zalvian citadel, Kael'thar and Vereen watched the sky shift. Hundreds of black shapes appeared in low orbit. Long metal spears, orbital kinetic penetrators. Human invention designed for one purpose: planetary annihilation. Rourke's voice echoed across all channels. "To the Zalvian Dominion, let this stand as your warning." His words were calm. "We are humanity. We are not diplomats. We are not conquerors. We are not slaves." He paused. "We are vengeance. Fire." The rods fell. Atmosphere ignited around them as they accelerated to terminal velocity. Impact zones glowed molten red from space. Entire Zalvian fortresses vaporized. Hive minds silenced. War forms reduced to scattered ash. Veltrian shook with the wrath of a species born from war. When the dust settled, Kael'thar could only stare at the impossible sight. Zalvian forces retreating, for the first time in galactic history. Running, Vereen whispered in awe. "They did it." Kael'thar's voice was reverent. "No," they began. The sky over Veltrian Prime was torn apart. The kinetic rods, dubbed Heaven's Spears by Terran soldiers, struck the surface with the wrath of ancient gods. No explosions, no energy blasts, just pure silent physics. 1,000 tons of metal traveling at hypersonic speed. The first rod impacted the heart of the Zalvian war foundry, a structure the size of a continent, vaporizing it in a single breathless instant. The shockwave that followed shattered the landscape for hundreds of kilometers. Mountains crumbled. Seas boiled. Zalvian war hives were torn from the earth as if plucked by an invisible hand. From orbit, Rourke watched the devastation with cold eyes. This wasn't cruelty. This was justice. "This is what you made us," he whispered. Down below, Kael'thar and Vereen staggered in awe, survivors amidst apocalypse. The Zalvian overlords had been right about one thing. The war was over. But not in the way they believed. Not with peace, not with surrender, with extinction. Across the galaxy, word spread like wildfire. Humanity had entered the war, but they hadn't come to negotiate. They hadn't come to coexist. They had come to win. In the Zalvian core systems, Panic spread for the first time in millennia. Hive queens sent emergency signals across the Dominion. Their message was chilling in its simplicity. The Terrans destroy everything. Their war machines consume entire worlds. They do not follow our logic. They do not obey fear. They are death incarnate. Aboard the UHS Vanguard, Patel delivered her report. We estimate a 92% probability of Zalvian counterattack fleets mobilizing from their home sectors. Rourke didn't flinch. Let them come, he turned to his command staff. It's time they learn our way of war. The Wrath fleet didn't wait for defenses. They invaded Zalvian space like a plague of steel and fire. Strike fleets punched through defensive lines, skipping standard tactics entirely. Where the Coalition had attacked supply lines, humanity attacked biology itself. They targeted breeding worlds, gene forges, cloning vats, Zalvian species, engineering complexes centuries old were burned to ash in hours. The Dominion's greatest strength, their numbers, became their greatest weakness. Humanity's scientists unleashed tailored nanite plagues, designed to liquefy Zalvian biomatter on a molecular level. Stealth vessels deployed drones into atmospheres, drones that rewrote Zalvian chemical communication signals, turning their own armies against them. The galaxy watched in shock. This wasn't just military strategy. This was warfare evolved, war without mercy, war perfected, war designed by a species that had spent 1,000 years fighting itself to the brink of annihilation and survived. On the bridge of the Zalvian Command Nexus, Supreme War Leech Xoric screeched in fury. These humans cannot be reasoned with. They are but animals. But deep down, it knew the truth. Humans were not animals. Humans were apex predators. The Zalvian Dominion had fought countless species before, but never like this. Never an enemy that fought not for territory, not for resources, not for domination, but for revenge. In the final hours of Veltrian Prime, as the last Zalvian biofortress crumbled beneath orbital fire, Admiral Kale Thar sent one last transmission to Rourke. "Your kind. You are different," Rourke replied without hesitation. "You're damn right. We are human. And we don't lose." As the fires consumed the world below, Rourke turned to Patel. "Set course for the Zalvian homeworld." Patel nodded, eyes cold. "We'll end this." But deep in the void of space, something stirred. The Zalvian Dominion, desperate and cornered, had one last secret, one last weapon, and they were going to unleash it. Zalvia Prime, heart of the Dominion, cradle of nightmares. The world was beyond ancient, a grotesque masterpiece of organic towers, biomechanical mountains, and rivers of living code. Here, the Zalvian hive queens ruled. Here, they had devoured 1,000 species. Here, they believed themselves untouchable. They were wrong. The Terran Wrath fleet emerged from hyperspace like the opening jaws of a titan. The sky above Zalvia Prime darkened, not from clouds, but from the sheer mass of human warships. A galactic tribunal had not sentenced the Zalvians. No peace talks, no ceasefire, only humanity had come, and they brought judgment. Aboard the Terran flagship Vanguard, Commander Rourke stood before his generals. "Today," he began, his voice rumbling like distant thunder, "we do not fight for land, for glory, or for conquest." His steely gaze swept across every soldier. "Today, we fight for every world they burned, for every child they enslaved, for every species they thought beneath them." He raised a clenched fist. "Today, we finish them." The first wave of human assault ships pierced the Zalvian defense grid. Autonomous dreadnoughts launched barrages of relativistic kill weapons, orbiting moons, once turned into fortress hives, cracked apart like eggs under the barrage. The Zalvian counterfleets surged forward, vast, grotesque swarms of bioships. But humanity had come prepared. They unleashed Project Ragnarok, artificial intelligence swarm nodes, designed to override and corrupt Zalvian neural networks. Within minutes, enemy ships veered off course, attacking their own kind in confusion. Where the Zalvian bred blindly for quantity, humanity had bred intelligence. On the surface, Zalvian war beasts clashed with human exodivisions. Shockwave troopers moved like ghosts, armor plates hissing with kinetic dampeners, ripping through monstrosities twice their size. Orbital kinetic penetrators hammered keyhive cities, turning them into glass craters. And then humanity unleashed their ultimate weapon. Prometheus-class war forms, towering war machines, powered by fusion cores, each piloted by the deadliest human warriors, integrated directly into the machine, walking gods of death. The ground shook beneath their steps. Zalvian queens screamed in collective terror. In the heart of Zalvia Prime, Supreme War Leech Kazorik cowered in its pulsating throne chamber. It activated every failsafe. It flooded the atmosphere with neurotoxins. It triggered bioplagues designed to liquefy flesh. But humanity adapted. Human soldiers fought through hell, bloodied, burned, but unbroken. Because that was humanity's true power. Not their weapons, not their ships, but their will, their refusal to die. Finally, Rourke himself led the assault into the Hive Nexus. Flanked by elite Deathborn commandos, he fought his way through miles of living tunnels, carving a path of destruction. He stood before Kazorik, who hissed in desperation. "Spare me. I possess knowledge, wealth beyond your imagination." Rourke leveled his rifle. "We didn't come for wealth." He fired once, a clean shot, through the creature's primary cortex. Zorik slumped, dead, the Zalvian dominion, extinct. Hours later, aboard the Vanguard, Rourke stood before a galaxy-wide transmission. The face of humanity was broadcast. Across every star system, his voice was cold iron. To every species who thought humanity was weak, to those who thought they could enslave us, to those who thought they could break us. He leaned forward. "Remember this day." He pointed toward the camera. "If you come for humanity, we will come for you. We will find you, and we will end you. This is the story of humanity. The story of fire and steel, the story of survival, against the darkness of the galaxy. The war was over. Humanity won. But the stars are vast, and new enemies always rise. Will you stand with humanity when the next war comes? Will you fight? Share this story. Spread the legend, because the galaxy will never forget. Aliens thought the war was over. Then humanity arrived in force.